If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button because today we're diving into one of the most unbelievable audition stories ever to hit America's Got Talent. This is a story about a voice so powerful, so unexpected, and so emotionally charged that even the producers weren't prepared for what happened the moment the contestant stepped onto that stage. What you're about to hear is a journey that defies expectation, breaks through limitations, and proves that sometimes, the greatest stars are the ones the world almost never discovers. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an emotional, breathtaking ride. This story begins far away from the bright lights of a television studio. It begins in a quiet town where dreams rarely grow and opportunities are even harder to find. In this town lived a young man named Adrian, a soft-spoken soul who carried a secret so enormous it almost didn't fit inside him. From the outside, he looked like anyone else living an ordinary life. His days were simple. Work, family, routine, repeat. But hidden deep inside him was a voice. Not just any voice. A voice that was beautifully haunting. A voice that carried emotion like wind carries the scent of rain. A voice that felt ancient and timeless and otherworldly, as if it came from a place beyond human limitation. But Adrian didn't use it. Not publicly. Not professionally. Not even socially. The world had never heard his gift. Not fully. Not clearly. Not powerfully. Only the walls of his small bedroom knew the truth. Only the shower tiles had been lucky enough to hear him. Only the echo of an empty room late at night understood what he really was, a phenomenon in silence. His family knew he loved music, but they didn't know the depth of his talent. His coworkers had no idea. His friends had never once heard him sing beyond a playful hum or a joking imitation. Adrian lived his life quietly and without desire for attention. But deep down, he wanted something bigger. Something daring. Something terrifying. He wanted to share his voice with the world. He wanted to know if it mattered. If it could touch someone. If it could change a life the way music had changed his. But fear is an anchor. It holds people down in the shadows of their own unspoken dreams. For Adrian, fear was the loudest thing he knew. Fear of judgment. Fear of failure. Fear that the one thing he loved the most might not be good enough in the eyes of others. It was safer to hide. Safer to stay silent. Safer to pretend that dreams were meant for someone else. Then came the moment that changed everything. One night after work, he sat alone at the back of a cafe, sipping a cup of tea while watching audition clips from America's Got Talent. He saw ordinary people becoming extraordinary. He saw shy voices turning into golden buzzer moments. He saw people who looked scared, uncertain, untrained, overlooked, people just like him, stepping onto a stage and transforming their lives. And for the first time, something flickered inside him. A spark. A possibility. A whisper of courage. Maybe, just maybe, he could try. But he didn't sign up. Not at first. He almost convinced himself to forget it. But 2 days later, something happened that he could never have imagined. He was working his shift stocking shelves at a grocery store. It was late, only a few people left in the aisles. He thought he was alone. He thought nobody could hear him. He started humming a melody, one of his favorite classical pieces. But this time, it wasn't just humming. He let it escape. He let his voice come through, gently, softly, but real. He sang a short run, something delicate and emotional. He didn't even realize he had done it. Until he turned around. Standing at the end of the aisle was someone he recognized, a woman named Rebecca, a local musician who occasionally performed at small venues around town. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't surprised. She looked stunned. Frozen. As if she had seen something supernatural. Adrian felt his heart drop. Embarrassment hit him like a wave. His face flushed. He apologized and tried to play it off as nothing. But she walked up to him with a look in her eyes he could not describe. A mixture of disbelief, admiration, and something deeper. She told him, with complete seriousness, that he had one of the most extraordinary voices she had ever heard in her life. He didn't believe her. He tried to downplay it. Tried to laugh it off. But she wasn't joking. She insisted that he had to audition for something, anything, and that if he didn't, it would be a crime against music itself. He thought she was exaggerating. But she was not finished. She pulled out her phone. Right there. Right then. And she said, "Sing again." Adrian panicked. But something inside him told him to do it. Just once. Just for her. Just to prove, maybe to himself, that it was real. So he did. He sang 4 lines from a song he had never performed for another human being. Something pure. Something honest. Something filled with pain he had carried for years. When he finished, she had tears in her eyes. She told him again, "You have to audition. And not just anywhere. America's Got Talent." He shook his head. Impossible. Too big. Too risky. Too terrifying. But she wouldn't let it go. She told him she would help him. She told him she would record his audition tape. She told him she would make sure he didn't bury his gift again. So they recorded the video. In her living room. With nothing but a cheap microphone and a single lamp. Adrian sang with fear trembling through his veins, but the moment he closed his eyes, his voice rose like it had been waiting years to finally be free. The video was submitted. Weeks passed. Nothing happened. He convinced himself it wasn't meant to be. Then his phone rang. He had an audition date. He almost dropped the phone. He almost said no. But something told him not to run. So he showed up in Los Angeles. Nervous. Shaking. Alone. But determined. Determined to at least try. Determined to step out of the shadows for the first time in his life. The AGT holding room was chaos. Cameras everywhere. Contestants practicing. Producers rushing. The smell of nerves and ambition thick in the air. Adrian felt out of place, like he didn't belong among dancers, comedians, magicians, and singers who looked far more confident. He almost turned around. But one of the producers approached him and recognized his name from the list. They handed him a number. 41,729. That number became the moment destiny finally tapped him on the shoulder. Hours passed. Contestants went in and out. Some cheered. Some cried. Some walked away unsure. Adrian sat quietly in a corner, silent, his hands gripping his number card like a lifeline. Finally, his name was called. He walked toward the stage doors. Every step felt like a mile. His heart pounded so loudly he couldn't hear anything else. Then the doors opened, and he stepped into the blinding, overwhelming world of the AGT stage. The audience was enormous. The judges sat in their iconic chairs, Simon Cowell at the center, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Heidi Klum smiling warmly. Sofia Vergara curious. Howie Mandel leaning forward with intrigue. Adrian stepped onto the X mark. The room fell silent. Simon asked his name. Adrian barely got the words out. His voice shook. Heidi asked what song he would sing. He hesitated, then told them he chose a piece that meant everything to him, a classical crossover arrangement that blended opera with modern melody. Simon raised an eyebrow. A risky choice. The music started. Adrian closed his eyes. And then, it happened. His voice burst into the room like light through stained glass. It was powerful. Pure. Resonant. A soaring tenor climbing to impossible heights with effortless precision. The control, the vibrato, the emotional weight, everything was otherworldly. The audience froze. The judges' mouths literally fell open. Heidi's hand went to her chest. Sophia whispered to Howie in disbelief. Simon, who rarely reacts instantly, slowly leaned back in his chair as his eyes widened. The voice was unreal. It didn't sound like someone auditioning. It didn't sound like someone trying. It sounded like someone born for this stage. His high notes shimmered like crystal. His low notes were rich and warm. His phrasing carried heartbreak and hope at the same time. The entire theater was suspended in time, trapped in the beauty of his voice. Not a single cough. Not a whisper. Not a sound from the audience. Then came the final note. A note so long, so controlled, so impossibly beautiful, that it felt like the air itself bent around it. When he finished, the room exploded. A standing ovation erupted as if the audience had been holding in their breath for the entire song. People screamed. People cheered. People jumped from their seats. The judges were stunned. Howie said he had never seen someone so unaware of their own brilliance. Sophia said his voice didn't belong in an audition, it belonged in the finale of the show. Heidi said she felt like she had just witnessed the birth of a world-class star. Then Simon spoke. He waited for silence. The room settled. He looked at Adrian with a seriousness that sent chills through the air. He said that voices like his were once in a generation. That Adrian shouldn't have been auditioning, he should have already been performing professionally around the world. That he had just delivered one of the most flawless vocal performances ever heard on the AGT stage. Then Simon did something unexpected. He stood up. The crowd gasped. He reached across the desk, paused, looked directly at Adrian, and hit the golden buzzer. Gold confetti exploded from the rafters, cascading through the air like magic raining down on a moment of destiny. Adrian fell to his knees in disbelief. Years of silence, fear, hesitation, and doubt shattered into pieces as golden light surrounded him. The audience screamed even louder. The judges clapped and cheered. Simon walked onto the stage and gave him a hug, telling him that he was no longer allowed to hide from the world. The producers were speechless. Even backstage staff wiped tears from their eyes. Adrian, the man who had never believed his voice was enough, had just been launched into the spotlight by the most iconic moment of his life. But that was only the beginning. His golden buzzer audition clip went viral. Millions of views in hours. Reaction videos flooded the internet. Opera singers, vocal coaches, producers, and musicians from around the globe analyzed his tone, his resonance, his technique, his emotional depth. People said he sounded like a combination of the greatest tenors of the world, yet uniquely himself. He trended across multiple countries. Fans wrote letters saying his voice helped them feel emotions they hadn't felt in years. As he prepared for the live shows, something remarkable happened. A major performing arts academy reached out, offering him full scholarship opportunities. A Broadway casting director contacted him. Opera houses sent messages wanting to speak with him. His life, once small and quiet, suddenly felt enormous and limitless. He performed again in the semi-finals, delivering a performance even more breathtaking than his audition. Blending modern orchestral arrangements with explosive vocal technique. Simon said his performance felt like a movie soundtrack. Heidi called him a miracle of nature. Sophia said she could listen to him forever. When the finals arrived, he performed an original arrangement dedicated to the people who helped him believe in himself, including Rebecca, the woman who heard him singing in the grocery store aisle. He didn't just sing. He soared. He conquered the stage. He delivered a finale performance so powerful that the audience cried openly. Even Simon wiped tears from his eyes. Whether or not Adrian won that season didn't matter anymore. He had already won something far more important. He won himself. His courage. His voice. His place in the world. He was no longer the man who hid his gift. He was the man whose gift touched millions. His journey reminds us of something deeply true. Talent is everywhere, but courage is rare. Dreams are everywhere, but belief is what brings them to life. Sometimes, the greatest voices in the world are trapped in the quietest people. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one person, one spark of courage to unlock everything we were meant to be. So if you're watching this right now, wondering if your dream matters, wondering if it's too late, wondering if you're good enough, this story is your sign. Step forward. Try. Dare. Don't let fear be the loudest thing in your life. Because the world might be waiting for your voice too.